What is up, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again. Man, we've got a loaded show this week. We're going to be talking some football. Actually, kind of a lot of football. We're going to be talking a lot of baseball, a little bit of basketball mixed in there, and some very somber news as we head into the weekend. So let's get with it.
Turbo and 2K show.
That's right, 2K crew. The World Baseball Classic is upon us. The U.S. gets underway tomorrow. But before we get into that, there's a lot of news happening in and around the sports world. The last week or so, we've seen the NFL teams put franchise tags and transition tags on folks on their team, as well as some trades, and some big trades have went down in the last 24 hours. So we're going to go over those. But before we get into that, let's get into some somber news here, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that do not know, ex-coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Lou Holtz, passed away. Very sad to hear that, but he was for quite some time been on hospice, so I'm sure he is in a better place. I'm sure his family is happy that he is in a better place. But that being said, I just wanted to get kind of some opinions from around the internet here, because Lou not only was, I mean, he coached quite a lot of teams, and not just Notre Dame. But it seemed like wherever he went, the room brightened when he went in. He changed a lot of people's lives, players, coaches, faculty members, everyone on that campus. I'm sure if you talk to anyone that had any type of interaction with Coach Holtz, would have nothing but glowing things to say about him. But let's just check out a couple of these here. This is from Tyler Horka. Lou Holtz died on March 4th. Newt Rockney's birthday was March 4th. Holtz will be buried at Center Grove Cemetery on the campus of the University of Notre Dame, the same resting place as Rockney. Two Fighting Irish legends forever linked, eternally resting as God intended. Amen. Amen to that. And here's another one here. This is again from Tyler Horka. Marcus Freeman has plenty of people in his corner. Few actually understood what it's like to be in his shoes and could be a mentor. The late Lou Holtz was one of the few. Quote, he always tells me, I'll give you my opinion, but never any advice. But his opinion matters. R.I.P. Lou. And this is something that I think all Notre Dame fans were kind of shocked to see, that Coach Holtz reached out to Brian Kelly many times, only to get no response. And ironically enough, Coach Freeman had replied and took time to sit down with him and actually get to know him. And those two had a really good relationship. So I'm not saying that directly correlates to a winning record at Notre Dame or to get to the national championship and ultimately win it, because Coach Kelly did that. But it just seems like Marcus Freeman kind of took that relationship and ran with it, cultured it, and I think we're seeing um, some of the results of that. So definitely something that I'm not going to say paints a picture of who Marcus Freeman is, but maybe kind of paints a picture of who Brian Kelly is. I don't know. I don't know. We've talked about it a lot here on the show. And Bruce Strahan, sorry Bruce, I'm butchering your name. There's only one thing left to do now: win it all for Lou this year. R.I.P. Lou Holtz, and that's the bottom line. Yes, Notre Dame has the chip on the shoulder for getting held uh, out of the out of the tournament, and that's been motivation so far. I mean, you look at the recruiting class, you look at everything Marcus Freeman's been doing, and how good the team has been, because your team's not good if people aren't taking your coaching staff. And Coach Freeman's had to do a lot of replacement on that coaching staff. So, yeah, there's going to be, when you have good players, there's normally good coaches, and when you have good teams, that's what happens. So, and Coach Freeman is not, this isn't anything new for him. I'm sure he kind of realizes this, and it's kind of, I guess, kind of fruit, just a byproduct of being this good. But there's turmoil, there's controversy, which leads to motivation. And I think this is going to be kind of the cherry on top. And I'm really, really excited to see what the Irish have in planned this coming year. Now there is one more, and I thought about not even putting this on just because the person who tweeted this is an absolute buffoon. Um, I say that now because in his ESPN days, I thought he was very entertaining. I thought he was a very, very good host of SportsCenter, but has gone completely off the rails. I mean, this man has lost his mind. So I wasn't going to put it on here just because I didn't want to drag the whole thing down. But the more I thought about it, the more it really dug into me. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to give you my response to this. This is from a tweet from Keith Olbermann. Legendary scumbag. Yes. Now let that sink in. Someone calling Lou Holtz, who just passed away, a scumbag. Is that warranted? No. And the reason that Keith Olbermann said this about Coach Holtz is because Keith Olbermann disagrees on everything that Coach Holtz stands for, his religion, his politics, everything. So according to him, he's a scumbag. And he even goes to the extent of saying it once he passes away. So if we're talking about who's a scumbag, Keith, it's you. Disrespecting a man when he's not even here anymore. Prior to that, you can have all the disagreements with him you want. But to do this after he passes and can't even like Coach Holtz would even respond to this, but that's where I will. Keith Olbermann, fuck you. You don't even deserve to be on any social media at all. Your takes are just as asinine as anything I've ever seen. And for the Turbo and 2K show, that is the last time your name will ever be mentioned on this show. That's it. Just wanted to get it out of there. And like I said, normally I don't take myself down to the levels and insult people, but this one kind of cut to the core. Well, that's the somber news, 2K crew. And for those of you that are watching live on YouTube, on TikTok, on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever you're seeing this, welcome. Go ahead and hit the like, subscribe, wherever you're at. Follow us. Give us a follow. It helps us out a lot. And if you guys and gals are one of the true OGs of the 2K crew, go ahead on the audio side. We love you because you've been here since day one. And whether we are in your ears on the treadmill or on the way to work, we love you, each and every one of you. And I know Boston Celtics fans are going to love this. This is from Bleacher Report. Breaking: Jason Tatum will play this season and could make his debut on Friday against the Mavs, per Shams Charania. Tatum suffered a ruptured Achilles tendon less than 10 months ago. And this is huge news. And it's not just because this would have been the most perfect time for the Celtics to quote unquote tank. We've got a loaded draft coming up. It would have been a bridge year. So, you're getting Tatum back next year. Jaylen Brown's doing his thing extremely well. The Celtics team is very good, very good. And for him to come back this quick, I mean, is fairly awesome. I mean, less than 10 months ago, he's able to come back. That's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And like I said, the C's could have just been like, you know what, we're going to take a pass on this year. We're going to cash in with a draft pick, a really, really good draft pick, a lottery pick, and just kind of go about things for 2027. And they said, and teams like, nope. They're actually 5 games back of the Pistons in the East. So them making the playoffs, I'm not going to say is a lock because there's nothing is a lock at this point, but it's looking towards that. And they're a very tough team. And you add Tatum to this where he can kind of get back into the flow, get his game legs under him, he's not going to be Jason Tatum playing 35 minutes out the gate, and possibly might not be that guy for the rest of the season. But if you get Jason Tatum at 70%, could definitely help that team. Are they going to overtake the Pistons? We shall see. But he's coming back at a very opportune time, and in a especially in a season like this where you're seeing a ton of NBA teams just tank the hell out of everything. I, for one, love the fact that the coaching staff and just the players in general are like, yeah, our leader, our best players out. Screw it. We're gonna go win a bunch of games. And we're gonna be competitive, and we're gonna do our best to win this thing. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. All right, let's get into some NFL cuts, trades, all that good jazz. This one kind of sucks. This is from Ian Rappaport. The Lions are trading standout running back David Montgomery to the Texans, landing Houston a productive power back per the insiders. Draft picks go back to Detroit as Knuckles leaves Sonic, updated for clarity. And this was something I think all Detroit fans were kind of hoping wasn't going to happen. They were hoping that not only Montgomery would be around for a little while longer, but they're obviously going to extend Jahmyr Gibbs. We just saw today that Jared Goff restructured his contract to open up a lot more money for the team. So it was one of those. I mean, hey, we could keep this guy around, and it's totally possible to keep this guy around, especially now that they've opened. I believe it was $40 million, which is a lot of money. Which is a lot of money to restructure and open up 40 million. But if it was either 20 or 40, but either way, a lot of money. And he was a guy that kind of personified what Dan Campbell wanted to do, did do, and just kind of a product of the culture that Dan Campbell has installed in there. Gritty, selfless, team first. Biting kneecaps. That's exactly what he did. Now, the last 2 seasons, we've seen his numbers and carries decline just because Jahmyr Gibbs has just emerged and been that good. So it's one of those, do you trade him now, get back something so that you can kind of rebuild and then draft one of these running backs this year, or potentially get a different running back in free agency at a lesser price, maybe a little younger. Who knows? Who knows? But the Lions will be getting another running back, and they will be paying Jahmyr Gibbs. So that, I mean, rest assured. But it's one of those. I kind of hate to say it with Montgomery, is that he's been there. They've won games, but they haven't won at all. And yes, the core group is still there, but he's one of those guys that I could see for a roster turnover kind of makes sense. And it's not like he's 30 plus years old. So yeah, if you look at it from the Texans' point of view, they had zero running game last year. So to get a player like Montgomery in, who has in his career been the bell cow back when he was in Detroit, or excuse me, in Chicago, and then was that kind of key back prior to Jahmyr Gibbs just exploding on the scene. So could he handle the load of just a regular 18 game season as a feature back? Yeah, I think so. I think so. Now the Texans are going to have to do some restructuring to get another back behind him, but it in my opinion it's an upgrade for both sides. So I love the trade. I I really love the trade. Now, some good news for Lions fans, and this is one of the best tweets I've seen in a long, long time. This is from the Detroit Times. Jake Bates is staying in Detroit for 2026. The leg lamp from Christmas Story, leg of Jake Bates, and the entire state of Michigan just admiring its beauty. So, Detroit Times, kudos on the amazing, amazing tweet. So yeah, and Jake Bates is kind of an awesome story himself, getting signing with the Lions after either his XFL, I believe it was, just domination. So kudos to him. I'm glad he's staying because he's been an awesome kicker for the Lions. Um, some other news coming out of Arizona. This is from Adam Schefter. Sources: Cardinals have informed quarterback Kyler Murray that they intend to release him on the first day of the league year next Wednesday, barring a trade between now and then. Arizona already owes him $36.8 million guaranteed in 2026, and another 19.5 million would have been triggered on March 15th for, and I forgot to show more. So when I thought about this, it's like, all right, one of the first things I thought about was, who could use Kyler Murray's services? Because let's be honest, we're gonna kind of have a similar situation as fuck. He isn't going to garner a lot of money. Probably the veterans min. Um, so a team like Minnesota, maybe. I mean, we're in a league in the NFL that is lacking in quarterback play. So would it be it it wouldn't be expensive for a team to take a flyer and see if they can kind of rejuvenate Kyler Murray and to kind of see if if he has any juice left. But I mean, in the back of my mind, I'm like, if you can't play for Arizona, one of the worst teams in the league, and they're one of the worst teams in the league when you're playing for them, is that a reflection on you and your play, or is it a reflection on Arizona itself? Now, we've seen Kyler be very, very good. Very good. At one point a few years ago, they were the number one team in the NFL. And, you get all of the contract hoopla where it's written in, but it's not really written in, where if he doesn't watch this many hours of film, he gets fined. I guess that wasn't correct, but why would anyone report that if that wasn't correct? And all of the video games and stuff like that, it's just kind of like, okay, Kyler, where are your priorities? So maybe this is the reset he needs. Maybe this is the reset he needs, and he's still very, very young, and it's not like he's in his mid 30s looking for a reset. He's in one of the most agile quarterbacks we've seen in a while. Has a great arm. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, hey, you know what? Kyler did get drafted playing for baseball. So this is from Underdog MLB. Athletics still hold Kyler Murray's rights after drafting him 9th overall in 2018. And for those of you that don't remember, Kyler was drafted number 1 overall in the NFL and 9th overall in the MLB. Crazy, I know, right? So, granted, that was 2018, but we've seen. I'm comparing him to Tim Tebow is not a fair comparison because Tebow wasn't drafted nearly as high, if at all, in the MLB. I believe he was by the Mets. I don't think not nearly that high. But Dan Clark kind of puts it bluntly here. This talk about Kyler Murray returning to baseball is ridiculous. He, 1, hasn't played for 8 years. 2, hasn't played professionally. 3, turns 29 this year. 4, has an injury history. The game has changed a lot since he last played. Today's prospects have far more upside, which is true, which is honestly true. It's all true. And do I expect Kyler Murray to kind of throw his hat back into the MLB? No. No. But on the other hand, if you're Kyler and if you're sitting around going like, okay, all the offers I'm getting are for backup quarterbacks. Granted, money's pretty good. You're going to be playing for the vet men, and you're still going to be getting a crap ton of money from Arizona. And even if he went the MLB route, he'd still be getting a lot of money from Arizona. So maybe I don't know. I honestly think it would be cool. Do I think he'd be successful? I don't know. I don't know. If I remember correctly, he was a second baseman coming out of college. So, and the A's have a good good up and coming young roster. Not saying he would go onto the major league roster day one because that's kind of ridiculous. But would it shock me? No, no. And yes, I understand he's 8 years removed from the game, but could it happen? I don't know. I don't know. It's just one of those we're gonna have to wait and see. We're gonna have to wait and see. Well, Bears fans, we got a kind of a weird trade today. Adam Schefter reports ESPN sources the Chicago Bears are working to finalize a trade that would send wide receiver DJ Moore to the Buffalo Bills. Compensation is still being discussed, and the trade cannot be processed until the new league year begins, but both sides are pushing to make it happen. And later on, he tweeted, compensation agreed upon. Buffalo gets DJ Moore and 2026 fifth round pick. Chicago gets 2026 second round pick. So essentially, the Bills get DJ Moore and a fifth pick this year. Chicago gets the Bills second round pick this year. And as a Bears fan, it's like, oh man, they're trading away our dudes yet again. But if you kind of look over, especially last year, it didn't really seem like there was a game, many games, a half where he kind of took over as the quote unquote number one wide receiver. Roma Dunze was hurt for a time. The tight ends were massive pieces of that offense. So it just kind of seemed like DJ Moore was kind of getting left behind. And to get a second round pick for him, I love it as a Bears fan. I love it. Yeah, we had to give up a fifth round pick too. I get that. But I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it for both sides. Now, to kind of put this into perspective, which I didn't realize, this is from ESPN Insights. DJ Moore is one of 5 players with 50 plus catches on throws of 20 plus yards or air yards over the last 5 seasons, joining CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and George Pickens. The Bills had the lowest average target depth in the NFL last season at 9.2. So it pretty much solves both problems for both teams. The Bears are trying to load up to get picks, move DJ Moore, who really wasn't in the mix a whole lot, still had a lot of value. So prime time to move him, and the Bills get a deep threat, which they haven't had in quite since Stephon Diggs. I mean, if you their receiving core last year was absolutely terrible, terrible. James Cook and Josh Allen were kind of the only really cool parts of that offense. And then Brandon Cooks when he came over after the trading deadline, but there really wasn't anyone else, and that was to the detriment of the Buffalo Bills in a postseason, mind you, that had a whole bunch of star quarterbacks out. So yeah, this is something that the Buffalo Bills absolutely needed terribly. It was just bound to happen. And one last one before we get into the baseball stuff. The Bengals, Adam Schefter, Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson is not being tagged and now will become an unrestricted free agent. And I'm sure if you're Trey, you're like, thank goodness. Thank goodness. I've rode with this organization, this shitbag of an organization for way too long. Rewind 2 or 3 years ago, I was the sack king of the NFL. Didn't get an extension. They told me I would. Didn't get an extension. Played that year. Oh yeah, we'll get you in the offseason. They didn't get him in the offseason. Wouldn't trade him. Still played. And he gave everything for an organization that basically could give two shits about him. So it's gonna be cool to see where he signs, because it's obviously going to be a contender. Because I'm sure with his mentality, it's Super Bowl or bust. Kind of the same with, we'll get into a little further probably next week about the whole Max Crosby saga and where he's going to land if he does end up getting traded from Las Vegas and if that makes sense. And to see these guys be that dominant, Miles Garrett as well, to be that dominant on a horrible team, and the Bengals haven't been that horrible. It's just Joe Burrow can't stay up, can't stay healthy. They've paid the Bengals have paid everybody else except for Trey. So he's the one kind of going, guys, what about me? Is it my time? Is it my time? And they kept saying, yeah, Trey, we got you. Hold on, we got you. Only to never get him. So I'm sure, even though he, as all players do, I'm sure they want to retire with one hat on. But this is just one of those instances where you get two very differing opinions, and it blows my mind that they will not uh, compensate their best defensive player, yet they compensated two wide receivers. Hmm. Yeah, offense wins, but as we've seen in Cincinnati, that defense is terrible, terrible. They could have the number one offense in the league, and their defense is number 30, and they're Joey B and the boys have to score 35 to win a game. You're not going to be able to consistently win in the NFL like that. That is just not a recipe for success at all, at all. So kudos to you, Trey. I hope you land somewhere where you absolutely want to go, and hopefully that team just takes off and goes, because for for someone to handle it like he did, instead of being an absolute asshole, an absolute quote unquote spoiled brat, and be like, nope, I'm holding out. Nope, I'm not doing this. Nope, I'm not doing that. He played it out. He played it out, and hopefully he gets compensated somewhere else, and they go on and win a lot of games. And I hope he has a lot of sacks, because he did it right. We've seen a lot of wide receiver divas and corners and safeties and everyone else hold out. He played. He played. So let me know. Let me know in the comments where you think Trey Hendrickson will sign. All right, it's World Baseball Classic time, and this is one of those topics where I didn't know if I was going to do a lot on it, but the closer it got to it, the more I'm like, yeah, yep, yep, I'm digging this. I'm digging this a lot, just because in the past, and when I say we, I mean the United States has put together some good teams, but we haven't had those top tier pitchers and position players. We've had good teams. The last one we just saw, Shohei striking out Mike Trout to end the championship was awesome. It was absolutely amazing. And I think a lot of the guys after that experience were like, that was pretty epic. That was pretty epic, and I want to wear that jersey, and I want to put my stamp on this team, and I want to be a part of something absolutely amazing. So where we saw kind of I mean, yes, all of this is a complete exhibition, but the pride is back. The pride in the jersey, the pride in the team, the pride of being a part of something like this is back with this generation of players, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And our let me get this right here. The United States plays tomorrow, Friday, Brazil at 8 p.m. on Fox. And then they play Saturday against Great Britain, 8 p.m. on Fox, both in Dallas. So, and I just, if you don't believe me, let's take a look at the rosters. Let's take a look at the rosters. The United States on the pitching side have David Bednard, Matthew Boyd, Garrett Clevenger, Clay Holmes, Nolan McLean, Clayton Kershaw, which was supposed to be a coach slash player, and they're like, nope, Clayton, we might need you for one or two. So he's like, all right, you got it. You got it. Brad Keller, Griffin Jacks, Mason Miller, the owner of the 105-mile-an-hour fastball, Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal, Gabe Spear, Ryan Yarborough, Garrett Whitlock, Logan Webb, Michael Waka. That is quite the pitching staff. The catchers are Cal Raleigh and Will Smith. Infielders Alex Bregman, Ernie Clement, Paul Goldschmidt, Bryce Harper, Bobby Witt Jr., Bryce Terang, Gunnar Henderson. Outfielders are Roman Anthony, Byron Buxton, Pete Crow Armstrong, Aaron Judge, and Kyle Schwarber. And I think what's even cooler to me about, assembling this roster is the people behind the scenes, the coaches and the managers. Mark DeRosa is the manager, and he's got Michael Young, Freddie Gonzalez, Brian McCann, George Lombard, Andy Pettit, Matt Holliday, Sean Casey, Dino Ebel, and David Ross as that's the coaching staff. Now, I hope Sean Casey, the mayor, is not teaching base running, because Lord knows we do not need that kind of base running, mayor. We don't need that. He's listed as a hitting coach, and thankfully. But this is a Hall of Fame All-Star ridden coaching staff. So that is completely awesome. Now, let's take a peek at Brazil's team. I looked over this before going live, and I've never heard of a single person on this team. Not a single person. As well as if I've never heard of any of the position players or pitchers, probably haven't heard of any of the coaching staff. And if you take a peek at the Great Britain, it's kind of the same way. Kind of the same way, with the exception of Jazz Chisholm. So, Great Britain, and you can be from the Bahamas. Okay. Yeah, that was kind of the only name that jumped off the page. And, he said he's going 50-50, so he might want to get out to a hot start and see what happens. But with that being said, let's take a look at some of the odds here. And over on DraftKings, hashtag not sponsored, would love to be sponsored. They have the U.S. as a 9.5 run favorite with an over-under of 14.5 against Brazil. And the United States is the overall favorite at minus 110. The Dominican Republic at plus 330. Japan plus 400. Venezuela plus 900. Mexico plus 22. And Puerto Rico plus 2,500. So yes, overwhelming favorites. And I think what kind of makes me even more excited about this is the coverage that the team is getting. And I'm not saying that the success that the women's hockey and the men's hockey got in the Winter Olympics is kind of propelling this coverage, but I don't think it does it any harm. We've got a nation that's just so happy that our teams are performing greatly on a world stage, and now we have yet another world stage for a different sport. And again, we're sending the best of the best. And in years prior, you wouldn't get the Aaron Judges, the Skubals, the Skeens. You would get kind of the second layer superstars rather than the top notch, the creme de la creme. So I for one think this is awesome. I think this is absolutely awesome. And it's one of those where I think baseball fans will be watching this throughout the whole thing. But once the United States gets past the first couple rounds and gets into the nitty-gritty of this, that's when more and more people are going to be drawn into this. And if we do make the championship game, I think that's when you'll get a lot of people watching, like they did in the for the Olympics with the hockey team. So I for one think this is completely awesome, completely awesome. So WBC guys, I hope all of you have a very successful time with the team. I hope everyone comes back healthy. Hope everyone comes back ready for spring training because I mean ultimately there is still a season to be played. So everyone come back healthy and everyone just come back guns blaring and riding a very high horse. There's some other stuff I did want to touch on as far as baseball is concerned. And a lot of it has to do with a young outfielder in Detroit. And he's catching a lot of strays. And I'm not going to say all of them are warranted, but for people that don't know who he is, I think you have a very jaded kind of outlook on this young man. And the young man I'm referring to is Max Clark. He's uh he's 21 years old, so very young. Tore through. I tried to bring it up here. Tore through the minor leagues last year, and does Ed in actuality the likelihood of Max Clark making the roster, breaking camp with the roster this year, highly unlikely. He's 21 years old. Now, we talked about a lot of these young guys with the Pirates, a lot of these young guys with the A's. Yes, those guys are young as well, but this guy, different story. Different story. Um, is still figuring out as a player who he is, and for him to be at camp at this point in his career is very amazing. And do I think he'll be better for it and will make the roster here very soon? I do. I do. But dude is catching a lot of strays, and like I said, some of the old hats in baseball do not like it. Do not like it at all. This is from Paul. How does nobody pull Max Clark aside and tell him he looks ridiculous flexing 10 chains during a game? Bro hasn't even made it in the league yet. Now, is it a little ridiculous? Sure. Sure. As someone who's a Red Sox fan that looked at this and said, ooh, Big Poppy starter kit. Yep. I would catch a lot of heat and a lot of criticism if I threw any shade at this young man whatsoever, just because of one of my favorite players of all time. The only thing is that Big Poppy wasn't like this when he came in the league. It's like he earned the chains. And Max Clark hasn't earned anything in Major League Baseball. And this is kind of what he's been dealing with this spring. This is from Dan Clark. Max Clark this spring. Games played 7, chains worn 6, errors, defensive miscues 4, hits 2 with an 0.95 average. So I think a lot of people are looking at this like, if you're going to put yourself out there, if you're going to dress like this, if you're going to act like this, you had better put up the numbers. And the Red Sox are dealing with and have been dealing with something similar in Tristan Casas, where a lot of his training, a lot of his exercise routines, everything that surrounds him is scrutinized highly just because it's so unorthodox. And while Casas is, I'm not going to say antics, but the way he goes about business is a little bit different than Max Clark. But anytime someone does something different, it's different. It's not the norm. So if they don't back up what they're doing to make it seem like they're right and everyone else is wrong, most everyone's like, nope, screw that guy. Screw that guy. And I think for a 21-year-old kid, he came back with this. This is from Max Clark himself. Comfortable in my own skin and always will be. Opinions from those scared to chase their dreams. World needs more love. Imperfect. And for a 21-year-old to say that, well, first of all, a 21-year-old to have that much confidence in himself to put himself out there like that, rolling 6 chains deep, is awesome. In a world where everyone wants you to conform and wants you to be like everyone else, he says, nope, I'm blinging up. As the kids would say, my drip is better than yours. Now we need to get the play on the field to be better than yours. But what people don't know about Max Clark is he has, however many followers that, what's his name here? Dan Clark, however many followers he has on Twitter, I guarantee Max Clark has 10 times that with his social followings. Every little kid, especially around Detroit and in Michigan, wants to be like Max Clark. I guarantee it. All the flash, all the pizzazz, and his play will come. His play will come. He is too gifted for it not to translate on the major league level. But like I said, an invite and to be this far in camp, and I I think if everyone was in camp and not with the WBC, we might see him not be playing nearly as much. But this is the kind of opportunity that he needs. And sometimes kids that are very, very confident, that they kind of need that reality check here real quick. Not from Dan Clark, but from actual results behind, at the dish, in the outfield. And I I seeing the results of last year with him flying through the minor leagues, this is only going to help him. This is only going to help him, and I for one cannot wait. I know the on the positive side, the Tigers have Kevin McGonigal that is playing like a number one prospect, which he's the number two overall prospect, but the Tigers number one overall prospect, and it seems like he will be breaking camp with the team, hopefully, unless he gets the Chris Bryant treatment where he has to go back down and then 2 weeks later come up. So they save that year of arbitration, which I think is absolutely dumb. Um, but yeah, this is, like I said, is it unwarranted? Yes. Did he bring it on himself? Yes. From his response, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. He's going to have 10 times as many fans as haters. And from what I've been because that's not the right one. Dan Clark, I just started picking up on his account, and the more I dig into it, a lot of other Tigers fans are not happy with this gentleman. So Dan, I'm not sure if you're just a total hater or you just don't like Max Clark, but I mean, it's hard to argue with your logic here. But he's played in 7 spring training games. Calm down. Calm down. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Everyone's wound way too tight these days. We just need to calm down. Just need to calm down. And one last baseball thing here. I didn't know how to incorporate this into the show, but it's something that I wanted to do just because I've seen, in particular on McAfee the other day, he had Aaron Judge on. And they're saying, Aaron Judge, the best right-handed hitter of our generation, or best right-handed hitter of all time, best right-handed hitter this, best hitter that. And I'm like, yeah, he's very good. He's very good. And this isn't this. I'm not trashing Judge by any means, but I think everyone's putting the cart before the horse. And not Gaetti did the research. So not Gaetti, thank you so much. He said, I just put Albert Pujols' first 10 seasons versus Aaron Judge's first 10 seasons into StatHead and literally gasped. And he goes on to say, and this would be a clean sweep by Pujols if not for the fact that he overlapped with PED era Barry Bonds, etc., while Judge plays with 230 hitters that strike out 200 times a year. And if you look at this graphic, the first, and I think everyone forgets how good of a first 10-year stretch that Albert Pujols had with the Cardinals. That's how he got the nickname the Machine. I mean, he was literally that. So WAR, 81.4 to 62.3 games, way more games, way more plate appearances. 1,900 hits to 1205, 408 home runs to 368, 1,230 RBIs to 830. Stolen bases, I really don't care about. Batting average, 331 to 294. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. The only thing that Aaron Judge exceeds Pujols in is OPS plus at 179 to 172. So it's not like they're completely out of the realm of each other. So, like I said, Aaron Judge, this is not a knock on you. I just think that a lot of people sleep on how good Albert Pujols really, really was. And if it wasn't for feet injuries and everything else, we could have saw more of this. And I'm sure that's what Angels fans were hoping for when they signed him. And just injuries nagged at him and got the best of him. So everyone calm down on the greatest right-handed hitter of all time, please. Is he up there? Sure, we'll put him up there. But the best? Not so sure. Not so sure. Let's get to our power ranking segment. This week we are doing power ranking fast food chains. Now, my criteria with the fast food chain, they have to have a drive-through. So Five Guys does not qualify for this, even though they are one of my favorites. But you have to mortgage your house in order for you and your wife to eat there. But so that's kind of the realm we're getting here. So let's start off with number 5. I've got McDonald's. I mean, and before we even get into this, don't give me that shit that I'm not putting any of this in my body. My body's a temple. That's up to you. That's completely up to you. Look at this body. This body has had all of these. All of these. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a favorite. So, not saying I eat them every day. It's just these are my top 5. So, for all you holier than thou that do not eat fast food and nothing but, you know, chicken and rice and broccoli enter my body, this segment isn't for you. McDonald's is number 5. Breakfast, bomb. Fries, probably the best, aside from one of the others here. But just straight fries, awesome. So I've got McDonald's number 5. Number 4, I'm gonna throw a little bit of a curveball in here. I got Jimmy John's. Jimmy John's has a drive-through. They're not like your normal sandwich, burger, chicken sandwich type spot, but Jimmy John's is high on my list. Do love me an unwich from time to time, but their bread absolutely amazing. And fun fact, when I was in college, we used to go down to right at the end of our street was a Jimmy John's. Even though Lazy Us would have it delivered a lot, we would go down and get the day old bread and make garlic bread out of it. So very, very good. Love their bread. Love their sandwiches. Number 11, no tomato, all day, all day. Number 3, Wendy's. Wendy's. How could you not love a Dave's Double, the Baconator? Fries are okay. Fries are kind of lacking. Not a big fan of Frosties. Chicken sandwiches are good. Nuggets are okay. So overall, Wendy's power, and the only one on this list that I know of that you can get a bowl of chili and a baked potato. So big kudos there. Number two, Arby's. I mentioned the fries, Arby's curly fries with a side of cheddar. Absolutely amazing. The best fries on the planet in that, but you have to have the cup of cheddar to take it over. Give me beef and cheddar all day. Love it. The Philly cheesesteak they had, absolutely amazing. I was kind of pissed that it didn't stay on the menu longer than it did. But yeah, give me Arby's at number two. And lastly, number one, I'm going Culver's. Love their burgers, love their fries. Um, Cheese curds, love their cheese curds. Another thing at Arby's that I really love are their mozzarella sticks. Probably the best fast food mozzarella sticks out there. Culver's is their, like I said, their cheese curds amazing. Pretzel bites and cheese amazing. Overall, just a very good burger. Um, don't really get into the ice cream a whole lot, but from what I hear, it's really good. And when I used to drink their root beer, homemade root beer, love it, love it, love it, love it. So yeah, that's our top five: McDonald's, Jimmy John's, Wendy's, Arby's, Culver's. Let me know if you guys want me to power rank any and all things. Go ahead and drop me a comment. And before we wrap up, I did want to go touch on Lou Holtz one more time before we get out of here. Kind of leave you with something that personified Lou Holtz through and through. This is from The Winning Difference. It says, quote, "Today everyone wants to talk about their rights and their privileges. 50 years ago, people talked about their obligation and responsibility. You have obligations to other people. If you want to fail, you have the right to fail. You do not have the right to cause other people to fail because you do not do everything in the very best of your ability." And that was one of many Louisms, I guess you could say, but there are many instances of quotes that are just circling the internet right now. But that was one that stuck with me. And if you want one that's a little bit more on the lighter side, he was quoted as saying, "Your wife is not your best friend. Your dog is. Lock both of them in the trunk of your car, open it up, and see which one greets you first." Lou's onto something. Lou's onto something. All right, 2K crew, I'm going to get you out of here on this. Everyone have a great week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.